Good afternoon, students. I am here to represent the ECG. ECG plus some heart disorder related with ECG study. So, what is the ECG? ECG a machine or it is a graph? Electrocardiograph. Electrocardiogram. So, this is the most difficult or most typical or most confusing question is there. That is, machine of ECG is known as electrocardiograph. Yes, students, electrocardiograph is known as ECG machine, but electrocardiograph is machine which is used for ECG. Electrocardiogram is graphical representation. It is actually graph which is generated by ECG machine. Means electrocardiograph generated the electrocardiogram. Means we can see this as on some wave-like appearance. Okay. So what is the ECG? As we know that our heart have four chambers. It has a unique characteristic of continuous contraction and relaxation due to some special nodal muscles. So, as we know that RA means right atrium contain a SA node, some nodal tissues which generates some impulse, leading to the contraction of atria, which is generated by SA node, 72 beats per minute. These impulses are travel somewhere here in AV node, means atrioventricular node, from where it goes to the AV bundle and through the ventricle is divided something like that, that is Purkinje fiber. So, general physiology, what right atrium receive all deoxygenated blood after the contraction due to the SA node impulse generation. These deoxygenated blood comes towards the right ventricle, and from right ventricle it goes towards the lungs through a pulmonary artery, and after the oxygenation left atrium receive the oxygenated blood through a pulmonary vein. You know that the pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein are exceptional cases, which are pulmonary artery are associated with deoxygenated blood and pulmonary vein are associated with the oxygenated blood. These oxygenated blood comes towards the left ventricle, and left ventricle pushes the blood towards the whole body from aorta. This is the general physiology, and how it will be happen. If we see the electrocardiogram we see a normal person gram is some wave-like appearance like that, which is known as PV. P wave, some complex or some extra large wave which is known as QRS complex, and at last T wave. So these waves are associated by this. P wave are generated due to depolarization of atria. Means depolarization of atria means what? Means if this is a muscle cells, okay, if this is a muscle cells, we know that the extracellular ion are present there, some intracellular ions are also present there. So these ions are responsible for generate the depolarization of muscles. Whenever Na enter to the muscle cells, it will be lead to depolarization. It will be lead to depolarization. Depolarization are reason of muscles contraction, means the muscles contractions are followed by depolarization. Muscles contraction. In case of heart muscles contraction, we know it have another name. What is this? That is systole. Right? So P wave represent the atrial systole or atrial contraction due to depolarization. These depolarization are occur due to these extracellular ion, means Na plus ions enter into the muscle cells which depolarize the muscles. Now we can see that these long wave or a complex, QRS complex. What is this? This is a ventricular systole or ventricular contraction. So atrial systole, ventricular contraction, and after that at last we see the T wave. What is the T wave? T wave is nothing that ventricular diastole. These events are associated with this. This event are associated our cardiac cycle. We know that the cardiac cycle are completed in one cardiac cycle are completed by this event, that is atrial systole plus atrial diastole plus ventricular systole plus ventricular diastole, which produce heart sound, and these are responsible for heartbeat generation. So we can see that the wave of P wave, which is associated with atrial systole, we can see here the QRS complex which are associated with ventricular systole. We can see here the wave of T which are associated with ventricular diastole. So these events are where electrocardiogram or electrocardiograph never represent the atricular diastole or atricular repolarization. Means contraction in term of ECG is event done by the depolarization of muscles, and diastolic condition are followed by diastole is followed by repolarization. Means if we can say that in case of ECG, atricular systole is atricular depolarization, atricular diastole is atricular repolarization, ventricular systole is ventricular depolarization, ventricular diastole is ventricular repolarization. So where the peak of atrial repolarization or atrial diastole? Actually atrial diastole is somewhere in here. Atrial diastole is peak is so short, which are covered by QRS complex. So QRS complex are a huge peak which are seen by the graph, but atrial repolarization peak will never found in electrocardiograph. So what is the use of this? We can say that we calculate heartbeat, normal person heartbeat by completing this means pulse rate are count by counting QRS complex, by counting P wave, or by counting a T wave. We can count the normal pulse rate. Normal pulse rate can be calculated through a QRS. QRS complex are easily visualized, so that we can say that the normal pulse rate are calculated by QRS. But we can also calculate the normal pulse rate or heartbeat by a P wave by counting a T wave. Okay, but QRS are big peak, so it is easily to count. So we can say the normal pulse rate will be counted by the QRS complex. Okay, so time interval between the P and Q. Here a P wave and here a Q wave. Time interval between P and Q will be 0.16 second. 0.16 second. Time interval between Q and T. Why we don't calculate the QRS time interval? Because it's so a single peak, a single event, not a different event. So QRS complex will be started from where? Q. So next event will be calculated in this time interval, means 0.32 near about 0.45 second per a minute. Sorry, per a peak. Okay. Now these are the normal human being ECG graph. What is this? Myocardial eczema and myocardial infarction. Myocardial eczema, we can see this. The second graph shows the QRS. S is not a downward peak or a flat segment, and T is not a dome like it is a flat, means S is depressed and T wave is flat in condition of myocardial eczema. In this case, oxygen supply will be affected to the heart, means our heart have a not proper oxygen supply. If there is a not proper supply of heart oxygen, so that what will be happen? The heart beat normally or abnormally? Abnormally, obviously there are deficiency of oxygen. So myocardial eczema is a deficiency of oxygen to the heart muscles. Heart muscles को जो properly oxygen provide नहीं होती है, उस टाइम पे हमें इस टाइप का ग्राफ जो है वो देखने को मिला. नेक्स्ट ग्राफ जो थर्ड ग्राफ है, that is myocardial infarction, is elevated graph. Means P wave is normal, showing normal, but S and T wave is elevated. ऊपर की साइड उठी हुई है. क्यों ऊपर की साइड उठी हुई है? क्यों elevated है? This myocardial eczema is if it is continuously जो है सफर कर रहा है पर्सन, so some myocardial tissues will be get क्या होंगे? डेड होना स्टार्ट हो जाएंगे. जैसे ही ऑक्सीजन की सप्लाई जो है वो सफिशिएंट नहीं मिलेगी, तो कुछ टाइम पे जो कार्डियक टिश्यूज है, मायोकार्डियल टिश्यूज जो है वो क्या होंगे? डेड होने से उनकी डेथ होनी शुरू हो जाएगी. तो वो कंडीशन जब मायोकार्डियल टिश्यूज की डेथ होनी स्टार्ट हो जाती है, दैट इज मायोकार्डियल इंफ्रैक्शन. नाउ वन associated syndrome is also there, stroke Adam syndrome. Stroke Adam syndrome is represented as we seen that in RA SA node is present. SA node generate a normal heartbeat, means normal contraction 72 per minute, and what will be happen? These impulse are transferred to AV node. If SA node have blockage, then some disorder means if SA node not properly work, then what will be happen? AV node will be work, but if AV will be work, this is not equivalent to 72. Actually, all heart muscles have the capability to contraction and relaxation, but main जो जनरेशन है वो ऐसे नोड से होता है. यहाँ पे नोडल टिश्यूज जो है वो इतने स्ट्रॉन्ग होते हैं, यही मेनली जनरेट करते हैं. अगर ऐसे नोड में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है तो एवी नोड भी जनरेट कर सकता है, बट कंपेरेटिवली स्लोअर हार्ट बीट. बट ये सिंड्रोम जो है स्ट्रोक एडम सिंड्रोम विल बी रिलेटेड टू द एवी बंडल डज नॉट वर्क. एवी नोड से एवी बंडल में ट्रांसफर होगी. एवी बंडल से जो इंटरवेंट्रिकुलर सेप्टम में प्रेजेंट है वही फिर डिफरेंशिएट होते हैं परकिंजे फाइबर्स में ऑल ओवर द सपोज दैट दिस इज अवर heart one side and somewhere suppose that it is our heart. So when AV node से पास हुई AV bundle में, AV bundle are further differentiated into Purkinje fiber in ventricle. Why Purkinje fibers are associated with ventricle? Ventricle systole भी तो required है. Atrial systole के बाद conduction ventricle systole में भी तो होना चाहिए, तभी तो पूरी cardiac cycle complete होगी, तभी तो pulse generate होगी. So Purkinje fibers के थ्रू जो है इंडक्शन वेंट्रिकल्स में जाता है. फ्रॉम वेयर क्या होगा? वेंट्रिकल्स विल बी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. सो bundle of AV bundle does not work, then we can say that stroke Adam syndrome means AV node work कर रहा है, SA node work कर रहा है, but AV node से impulse जो है वो इसमें AV bundles में नहीं ट्रांसफर हो रही, AV bundles में नहीं ट्रांसफर हो रही, और Purkinje fibers में नहीं ट्रांसफर हो रही. These are another cardiac disorder. So I think you will clear about all about the ECG and you will be cover up all question comes from the ECG. Thank you.